Good morning. I'm Gina Knight. I'm thrilled to meet you. I'm with Remax Finest, and I deal with a lot of clients that come from out of the area. So you have the pleasure of being the very first interview that I'm doing, and I'm doing it to basically showcase Crossville. In past, people came to Crossville because they had ties here or Fairfield Glade. But now, thanks to COVID, people are coming for different reasons. They're coming because they want to be in Tennessee because it's a great state, but they don't really know where in Tennessee. So I wanted to introduce, I'm starting to do a weekly report from different businesses and things that are available here in Crossville and other business owners. And so that they can kind of get a flavor and a feel for what they're looking for. And either this is for them or it isn't for them. And I believe in doing business local. I feel that that's very important. And so I appreciate you willing and being first. I know a lot of people have been like, why are you doing this? And but I just think it's a good way to build community and go from there. So I want to start off with asking you, are you from here, or did you relocate here like me?
I relocated. So first I want to thank you just for having me on the show and doing this. I think that's a good idea. Just to share what Crossville has to offer. I'm somebody that has moved here from out of town. I come from big cities, so I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, lived there for a few years. I grew up there's a little stint in Missouri, Columbia, Missouri, but I grew up in Texas, just outside of Houston in a city called College Station with Texas A&M, very vibrant community, lots to do. And then, as I got older, I moved to Murfreesboro because it was just outside of Nashville, and I am a musician, so I went there for music. And through pursuing music, as well as trying to find a backup plan to that, so I got a degree in poli-sci from Middle Tennessee. I met my now wife. She had contracted me as a drummer, so I was playing drums, and she was looking for a jazz musician, drummer that's familiar with the blues. And I was at the time going through the blues circuit. So she walks into my garage and we met. And I knew the moment I saw her, I wanted to get to talk to her after practice. So I'm just trying to get through practice so we can go out, we can grab a drink. Long story short, she sang that first note and I missed the entire song. I think I just kind of stared in awe. I knew at that point it was kind of a love at first sound.
Right.
And so I set out to make her my wife and did. And through a course of events over the next few years, instead of her coming, we got married, and instead of her moving to Murfreesboro, things kind of fell through and I moved here. So coming from big cities of 100,000 plus to a small little town of Crossville was a transition for me personally. There's a lot of amenities that I was used to that I wasn't seeing here. Coffee being one of them. So I love the smaller, slower pace of life here in the hiking and the outdoors, but there were a few things that I had missed from being in larger cities. Coffee was one of them. I hate to say it, I started and learned to like Maxwell House because that was really easy to get at the grocery store. But being used to in Murfreesboro is where I was really introduced to specialty grade coffee. So I'll tie that whole story in with UpTempo, and we can touch on that later. But to answer your question, yes, I have transitioned from a bigger city, moved here, and carved out my place here. The energy and the diversity of a city is something that I miss coming here into a rural community. For me, I come alive in the middle of the hustle and bustle of traffic doesn't bother me too much. I was used to driving 20 minutes to go 2 miles, and now it takes me 20 minutes. I go all the way across town. So that was kind of fun transition. And you learn to you get used to a slower pace, and then you go back to the busier stuff, and you realize, man, that was really stressful.
Yeah, it was. The
Yep.
only thing I miss is Chinese food delivery. That I
Yep.
missed.
Yep, good food. There's a lot of good food options, and that's always a big one when I talk with others that have moved here as well. Is we're getting some really good restaurants. I know Grinder House, Christie's Pub Grub downtown, Poorhouse, to name a few, have moved in and done really well to bring a really nice dining experience to our community. So I go and eat there quite a bit at all three of those.
So tell me about your coffee business. So it's kind of funny that I don't know how you ended up being our first one. Kara did a great job. My dad was a drummer for Frank Avalon, so
that's great.
We have that in common. And he loved jazz. That was like his favorite medium, and wow. That's funny. Yep. And then also my niece deals in coffee in Michigan, and she does flavored coffee stuff. So is that what you do, similar to that, different blends of coffee?
So right now my focus is on single origin. So I UpTempo started, it was a dream that I had way back. I had my first experience with a coffee shop in high school. So it had opened up, a guy named Rick opened up a small shop and was just a really relaxed guy. He had retired. He still at the time was doing some iron work, building like the iron gates and things like that. But he had slowed down and gone more into opening a coffee shop. He had a really nice, inviting atmosphere. And as a high school kid, to have a place to go and hang out, that was a really neat opportunity. Just so I could relax. My friends could go there. As we got older, there were other coffee shops, of course, in town, and we were able to start driving, going to those other ones. But this one opened right around the corner from my house. So I fell in love with a cafe mocha. That was what I got every day after school. I'd walk home, and it was right there on the corner. And it kind of gave me an idea of something to do maybe later in life. Like I want to live my life and go through it and make my money and get success, but then I can retire like this guy and maybe open up a coffee shop, relax, have something going. And so that has always stuck with me. And even in college, I was working, I'd go to school, and then in the summers would work 2 jobs and coming home late. I'd sit on the back porch and just enjoy a cup. And I know this is awful. I can't do it now. But when I was younger, it actually helped me. Which is why I think I was ADD somewhat, because when I have caffeine, it helps calm me down. So I would sit on the back porch after a long day of work, have a cup of coffee, and I would have jazz music playing in the background just through my bedroom window. And that would be just my way of taking time to decompress from the day and just think about, just kind of daydream for a little bit. And I always kept coming back to, man, when I retire, that'd be awesome to have not just a cafe, but to start roasting coffee. Now transition to a year ago, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I've had several people that I know pass away as a result during that time, and even more recently. And it just helps you come face to face with your own mortality. So thinking about and going through those experiences and losses, and start thinking about, man, this could happen to me any day. So there was a little bit of a motivation for me to start to learn how to roast at the beginning of the pandemic. So that's right about the middle of the pandemic, I started roasting and enjoying beans by myself. So I looked up how to do it online. I kid you not. There was a website that said, yeah, you could roast coffee with a cast iron skillet. I said, are you serious? Because I was thinking you need a really big machine to do this and really expensive. So I actually found a place in Seattle that does small batch of beans. So I ordered 2 pounds of beans, and I got my cast iron skillet out on the stove and started roasting. It was awful. It was a disaster the first time I tried it. And so I've talked to others that have been interested in learning to roast. I tell them, get a cast iron skillet and buy some beans and try it for yourself. And you can put the cast iron on a medium heat, and actually you just stir with a wooden spoon and as the beans heat, you'll see them roast. It's not an even roast. It's not going to be perfect. I don't know that I would sell it publicly when it's roasted that way. But it certainly is a good cup of coffee, and it's a fun experience, minus the cleanup, because it's very messy. There's chafe and smoke and everything that goes everywhere. But that's how I got started. So
So maybe
I
you
looked
want to
up
do
a
it
video.
outside or something.
Yeah, I think you go outside, exactly. So that began my journey. Was, life's too short to wait until a predefined time to learn to do something. Let me learn to do it now and see where it goes. At least if nothing else, I'm going to have great coffee again, and I won't have to drink Maxwell House.
Right.
So that's the motivation behind it, and kind of the idea of where we're at today. Now we're about a year in. We just launched kind of a small launch back in August publicly. So we've been roasting almost a year personally and handing out to friends, getting a lot of good feedback. And I've transitioned now into air roast. So I use an air roaster, which is it's a little bit different. Traditionally, coffee is roasted in a big drum that's heated on the outside, and that outside heat will then in turn heat the beans and roast as the drum turns.
Right.
A newer process that's happening, and we're seeing a lot of in the specialty coffee industry, is air roasting. So you pour your beans in a hopper, and it's almost like a vertical chute, and the beans are then lofted with air, and that air is heated. The reason I'm going that direction is twofold. The first one, it's a little bit cheaper to buy an air roaster than it is a drum roaster. But also the flavor comparison seems to be a little bit better with the air roaster because it gives a much more even heating and roasting process. It doesn't heat on the outside and then kind of gets the other side as the beans tossle. You're talking about hot air that's surrounding the beans and tossing it together, so it gets a more even roast that way. And it usually lasts the roast. So with that kind of roasting, it takes about 15 minutes or so to process the beans. But that's kind of where I come from. Where
Does it have a good
comes
aroma?
from. So we started in a cast iron skillet at home, and now we have a 1 pound air roaster that we use. So we roast a pound at a time, which is, as you can imagine, it can become quite time consuming. When we get orders, I just had an order of 6 pounds that I shipped out to Maryville, and I sell about 10 pounds or to 15 pounds per week at the farmers market in Fairfield.
Yeah, that's a good spot.
Yep.
So can people order online, or how do you
Sure. So local individuals, I encourage to find us on Facebook at UpTempo Coffee, and they can message us directly and order. I've got an Etsy shop set up where they can order for mail order, but the Etsy has a limitation where it doesn't allow for local pickup. So if you're from Crossville and you order on Etsy, it's still going to charge you the crazy shipping price from USPS at $7. That's just what it is right now. But I understand locals, we can meet. My office is right downtown, so I have people that'll order online or give me a call, and then they come by my office on Main Street to pick up the bags of coffee.
Okay, so where's your office on Main Street?
So we're located in the Arches building, and I work full time
Downtown.
downtown. Yep. So I work full time for a graphic design packaging company. I manage the kind of the customer service and sales arm of that company. And
so you're a true entrepreneur. You've got lots of irons in the fire.
That's right. So one is for my own personal enjoyment of coffee. I love coffee. I like sharing that experience with others. The other is what pays the bills and keeps the family going and everything else.
Right. So what we'd like to do is order some of your coffee, and then if people want to come sample it before they buy it, they can come by and have a cup of coffee here at the Carriage House, and where our Remax headquarters are, and then then maybe we can be a drop off or a pickup point for you or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So do you have certain flavors, or is it just the air roasted?
Yep. So we're single origin, meaning that our beans come from a single location. We're not quite into blending yet. I do have a half cap Guatemala blend. So it's a decaffeinated Guatemala mixed with a 50-50 with a regular Guatemala from the same region. And I do that because I'm not supposed to have caffeine. So that's I'm trying to meet my doctor halfway on that. By doing a half cap, and I've had a lot of inquiries for decaf, which is for me it's really hard to take a decaf because it does adjust and lose flavor during the decaffeination process. But the half cap is something that I drink and I'm about to make available here in the next couple weeks. And then we've got single origins as well that are usually we've got one that's from Sumatra. That's our dark roast. So it's from Indonesia, the island of Sumatra. We've got one from Guatemala, the Huehuetenango region, which is our bestseller. So that's a medium dark roast. I had a lady last week when it started raining, we were packing up and she came running out of her car. Don't go, I need your coffee. And she had complimented just how well balanced that coffee is. She loves it. And she's from New York, so she's like, "Do you still have your coffee?" Very funny.
Well, that's a compliment from New York.
It was very good. She wanted to make sure that she could still get it. So that's got the nice cup of coffee that we're used to having in the morning, but it's got, and of course, a smoother flavor than like a Maxwell's. It's very clean, and that's how I describe the coffee that I roast. It's very clean. It's the difference of drinking tap water and then going to like a Fiji spring water. It's hard to describe, but it is, other than like it's a clean flavor, it's organic, shade grown, and that particular coffee, everybody really enjoys the chocolate undertones to it. So I allow my idea in starting
That's
out.
the coffee I want to try.
Yep.
I'm not a big coffee drinker, but everybody else here is.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's the one that I tell everybody, start here. It's a good middle ground between light and dark. And then as you go lighter up the spectrum, I've got some Ethiopians and Uganda. I had a Uganda when I first started offering it. It's gone and out of season now, so I'm waiting for it to come back in season. But it had a flavor of like bread and banana. I mean, it was just fantastic.
Really? That'd be a good breakfast coffee.
Correct. So, well, I don't know about breakfast coffee. It was a good, just anytime. I have breakfast, but as you go to the African coffees and in the lighter roast, you get very fruity flavors because of the region that they're grown in, but the trees that are used to shade those coffees, those flavors come into the beans themselves. So I try to roast in a way that allows those natural regional flavors to shine through. So people get to, when they taste UpTempo coffee, they get to taste not just a cup of coffee, but you're tasting, this is what flavors exist over in Ethiopia, and this is what they're experiencing. And this is like, if you go to Guatemala, this is the coffee, this is how they take it in Guatemala. So in that way, everybody, I say you can travel the world with your palate.
Right.
You're from Crossville, Tennessee.
That's awesome. So you're at the farmers market, that's Wednesdays, right?
I'm on Saturday, so we're at
Fairfield.
Yeah, we're on Saturdays at Fairfield Glade. It's the square off the corner of Peavine and Stonehenge. We set up there
hours are you generally there on Saturday?
Usually from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. or until we sell out. So we sell out. We typically have sold out, minus this last week when the rain hit, but we usually sell about 11:30 or so. We also offer at that Fairfield, in addition to bags of coffee, individual cups. So I've got a large carafe of coffee that people can buy cups of. They can sample it if they like. Or just enjoy it. We set up next to a guy called the Bread Guy, and he sells.
I know him. He makes amazing bread.
Incredible. He's incredible. So he does breakfast sandwiches to order at the market. So people can come order a breakfast sandwich from him, and then go right next door, get their cup of coffee, listen to a little. I've got jazz music playing at my tent. They can listen to jazz while he cooks, and then they can go find a seat and have a nice breakfast from local farm and coffee and bread people.
And that's great because it's on a Saturday when you're kind of looking for something to do.
You look for something to do, yep, and it's really enjoyable. He uses some eggs from the Bell Farms down, which is the 10 over. So it's a really neat experience to just come and see the local farmers and artisans that are there and be able to get a meal that's literally farm to table. Even the coffee comes fairly fresh. We get it right off the boat. It comes to our distributors who send it to us as soon as we order it, and then that's roasted and sent out. So we don't have things that are sitting. Our beans are not sitting around for a year or two. It's coming straight off the drying bed to the boat to the U.S. And then we try to get that roasted and moved as quickly as possible.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, people. I'd like to thank Matt Clyde for being our first person that was willing to do the interview.
Yeah, hopefully.
But we're going to make sure we get all your contact information when we post it up, so that people can contact you to try your coffee. And I hope that y'all go out on a Saturday morning. Fairfield has done a lot of work out there to make that area right on the corner of Peavine.
It's a
Stonehenge.
Really nice area. Yeah, really nice area.
You don't have to worry about chemicals. You literally have farm to table breakfast, a great way to spend a Saturday morning. And I appreciate your time. And I look forward to working with you on some other fronts and making your introduction. I love that you're here in Crossville and helping to make Crossville, you know, a more diversified community and not just small town, giving us some flavors, as you say, you know, all over the world. That's pretty exciting. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming out here and doing this interview with us. I can't wait till we can all get away from Zoom and do more of these in person. But we'll be out to see you on Saturday, and I hope you come by and see us, and we'll get in touch, get some of your coffee here for our clients as well.
Sounds good. I appreciate it, Gina.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. See y'all. Y'all take care.